if you don't mind, if we go to you, make
Wherever you want it, sir.
but put it up front, yeah, well, we see the people. That's good for me, yeah. I want to get written up in the paper now. I mean, can we start it and just wait, not vote? You can't start it without going, or you just can't. One more person. exactly how much it is. But see, I didn't see that on mine earlier, see. I didn't pick it out from black and white. Why don't we talk to Mac? Can you get him up here and talk to him? Ain't no reason not to. Yeah. Matt. Huh? No, that's fine. How much is this foundation elevated? It is 16 inches? Yeah. That an issue? Oh, okay, all right, okay. So, okay, now, that's what, that could. So it's drawn up to 16, huh? Is this a soldier course from that? I can't tell whether or not this is. Soldier course with bricks vertical. They might be calling you back shortly. Huh? You sit in the rate of reserves, aren't you? Do you really? What is it called? Where's the seven?
Yeah, with the exception of Trascade bollards were part of that option. It was one of the service cabinets, which is not mentioned anywhere. And that's a double-edged sword. But everything else is fine.
They're gonna gray paint the top. Black, blue color. You ride by Frank's Cars down there, just take 5 down there on Thompson Road. I don't know what the fictional writer. It's a- I didn't know what meeting they were even talking about. I got a little bird was saddled when I read that. I thought I missed a meeting. Huh? need to start calling you? We call Marilyn, tell him she's. We call Marilyn. That's supposed to be there. Get that one. Real low head.
Go ahead and call the meeting to order. Carol, would you call the roll, please?
Bailey. Jim McLean.
Here.
Carolyn Lomas. Cindy Nord. Paul Mascotti.
Here. Jim, Carol, has the meeting been posted accordingly? Notifications, proper notification made?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Can I have a motion for an adoption of the agenda?
Second.
Discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mayor Bailey, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You would take a look at the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I've reviewed the minutes prior to coming in, and there are a significant number of errors in it that I think it would behoove us to defer approval of the minutes until the next meeting till some of these corrections can be made. That was a motion, yes.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carol, could you tell us the first item, please?
Yes, Mr. Chair. This is a follow-up from the previous meeting. The board voted to approve a certificate of appropriateness for this agenda item 2023-03-COA at 400 Main Street, but had a few requests for the applicant to come back to this meeting and answer some follow-up questions. And you see in your packet, what the board asked was for the applicant to provide samples of the building material and colors, provide a rendering of the building base or foundation, provide a rendering of the parapet at the rear of the building, and provide a rendering of the monument and wall sign. And the applicant is here to answer your questions.
Please join us.
I did bring the samples. Would you want me to bring the samples up to the table?
Please.
Start with, yeah, let me do that.
We can go over that after we're done. Can you tell us a little bit what has changed from this since we first met?
Yes, let's see. I think the biggest change regarding the roof was that originally the L-shaped building had in essence, a gutter that ran along the two rear sides of it. And we changed that to a raised parapet, and then there'll be through-wall scuppers with downspouts, and I think that's shown on the renderings. We also we ended up raising the building 16 inches based on the discussion with architect Ralph Walden, and I think some input from the board too. And so these renderings, show the results of what we have to do accessibility-wise when we raise the building up. So I was hoping that'd be something we could talk about.
Can you describe the brick detailing? I like what you've done with it. Can you describe what you're showing here? It's a little hard to see.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically just a classic red brick with really like a biscuit or ivory mortar, kind of an old, fairly tumbled-looking style brick. And then there's a brick detail around the base of the building at about the floor line. So you can see that there.
Yes.
It looks like a shadow line on the rendering.
Yes.
We've also included the image of the dumpster as well. It'd be the same brick.
Any comments on the foundation?
I do think that's something that we were going to discuss this evening.
Please.
Sure.
I really would like, and I spoke to Ralph about this, really looking for a reference in the ordinance regarding this raising the building of the 16 inches? Because I know in the previous board meeting, we talked about 3 feet, but that applies to residential. There's nothing, I don't see anything in the ordinance requiring the commercial building to be raised 16 inches. So I'm really looking for some reference, precedent.
Did Ralph review with you the way it's worded in the residential portion versus the commercial?
Yes,
portion?
and what it says is that if there's a foundation, it has to be delineated,
Correct.
but the foundation is not required. There's nothing that requires it in the ordinance. It's only if you have a foundation, you've got to delineate it.
What I took away from the conversation, and Ralph and I had a couple conversations last week about it. It sounded like the design directions or the design instructions or the designer, the words that the designer would pick up were subtle. It's worded the same way, I understand, on the residential side as it is on the commercial. What the ordinance does not do, seems like the residential takes it a step further and the commercial side does not.
And it should in residential, but not commercial.
Well, that's,
I would say,
I wish it was clearer, I'll be
I
honest
think
with
it's
you.
pretty clear, actually. There is no requirement that you need a raised foundation with commercial. It's just,
Well,
it's not in
when-
there.
When you talk with Ralph, it's clear.
I have talked to Ralph, and to use his words, he said that the board has deemed that it is necessary. I put forth to you that deeming it necessary is arbitrary. So I'm really challenging that requirement. Also, if you go back to the rendering of the front elevations, it doesn't make any sense in a commercial building to cover that thing up with railings and ramps and steps. I mean, I think it clutters the facade up.
Carol, were you able to take a look at the medical building on Blythewood Road?
I did not get a chance to do that, no.
I don't know if
Yeah.
it was done at that building or not.
Right.
So I gather you're opposed to doing it.
I am very opposed to this. And I think the rendering demonstrates really the absurdity of raising the building 16 inches.
Is it the full 16 inches, or is there something in between?
No, it's 16 inches.
Is there something in between as far as the construction of it would make it?
No. No, I can't imagine that raising it 8 inches would be anything. If that's what you're asking, is there something between 0 and 16?
Yes.
No, I don't.
Oh, the last thing that I can remember on it is that we reviewed the Mexican restaurant, Taco Bell. We asked him to do something just to create it where it did not look like it was sitting on the ground. I don't know how they corrected that, but if you remember the conversation, it elevated just enough that it didn't look like it was a full slab just sitting on the ground. You remember that conversation?
No, but all around that, well, the front of that building is all sidewalk, so it looks like it's raised at least that much, but I can't say that, I don't know that the foundation is delineated
It is not.
or
I know what building you're talking about.
detailed in any way.
Yeah, I come in that way in the Taco Bell and
Beg your pardon?
definitely there's no indication that that building's raised up. You can see from the parking lot, so. I'm gonna go back to this. If it's in the ordinance, we'll do our best to meet it. But it's an arbitrary requirement. It really is.
Well, let's do this. Let's take your words under advisement, but let's continue the conversation tonight because there's a few other things we'd like to talk about.
Sure, that's fine.
Maybe there's a way we can work this out.
Okay.
A couple things, and Jim, feel free to speak up. A couple things that we wanted to talk about were the north and east sides of the L-shaped building. I don't know if that's one or two or which building it is.
It's a brick building.
we'd like to propose or ask you what your thoughts are on changing the siding out to brick instead of tying siding up with brick, two different elevations.
The reason for that, let me explain that too. If
Yeah.
you look at the L-shaped building on the north side, which is the side of the barbecue place or the station, you have a full view of that side when you're traveling from going south on 21. And you're looking at the back of that building, and it's completely visible, just as visible as the other side is when you're traveling north.
Right.
And also on the east side, which borders the railroad, but it also borders the town park. Significant amount of improvements are taking place over there. So I would suggest that both the north side and the east side of the brick building be on the rear side also be brick instead of the hardy board or the hardy plank. The entire building be a brick.
Right. Yeah, I understand that. I definitely know on that barbecue
Right.
restaurant side, definitely visible there. I might, before I commit to making the whole thing brick, I might want to talk to the owner about it just to make sure. But, I understand that. I do think,
On the back side of the building too, on the east side,
Yeah.
we spent a significant amount of time with the replica of the depot. And it's going to be basically right back up against that as well. Down slightly, but it basically is going to be facing the rear of that building. And if you look, it's compatible, that building is compatible with the front side of the Doco Manor.
yeah, we can take that into consideration. Definitely that depot is a totally different architectural style. I'd say we're trying to be more in keeping. I understand the brick requirement, but we're more in keeping with the buildings right next to it.
Those
in terms of being
buildings
full-
go back to the 20s.
In terms of being full brick there, but yeah, no, I think the all brick is definitely something we could work with.
What is your thinking on the arch windows versus the flat top windows and the placement of them, as opposed to either all arch or all flat?
Oh, just a mix for interest, and I think the buildings next to it have a mix of arch and
I
straight
mean, they're
windows,
good,
I think.
looking windows.
Yeah, the church, yeah.
Is it out of the question to do arches at all the windows? Is there
It's
an
not.
architectural?
I think it might be a bit too much of a good thing, because what we've done is we did arches over the doors, and we did arches over the end walls. That was
see.
the thought.
I see. I see it now that you pulled it out.
If you add a soldier course to the foundation side, does that give it the perception of height?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. One of the conversations, I don't know if Ralph mentioned it to you, about a brick or a soldier course and about the roof bearing for the awnings or for the entry roofs. What he calls roof bearing, just to break up the height of the building.
Right.
That's the same sort of question you're asking.
As far as put a soldier course basically on the foundation side,
It just,
to give it try to give a perception of raising. Or to
what's
that
your
slab
what's your
look.
opinion of that?
I do think if we walked away here and the building was on grade, I definitely think there's some simple brick details like that we could incorporate in the building, like the soldier course, because that's nothing more than taking the standard brick and turning it 90 degrees. I think that's definitely something you could use to break up the facade. I think it might look nice. I'd be glad to incorporate those. It doesn't help with the issue with the foundation. I know we'll come back to that, but that's definitely a detail that we could incorporate. And for that, I think that'd be something maybe I should, run by Ralph when it comes to the placement of the soldier course. And
Right. Did he mention to you about a soldier course up at the very?
no, we didn't get into that. I think we were.
He mentioned it in a quick email.
That's actually an easy detail. Like the way detailed at the top of the parapet, there's a rowlock and a soldier course up at the top.
Right.
So
Any other comments on the building itself?
It's an attractive building.
Well, I appreciate that, and we tried to do our best to make it look good, given the parameters. I still feel like it's just acknowledging that it is a rectangular commercial building, and frankly, I think raising the building impedes access to customers coming into those spaces. It really does.
Say that again?
Raising the building and having to do ramps and steps hinders the flow of the clients coming into these, whatever, who are the tenants are for the space.
What is everybody's thoughts on the foundation? What I think it boils down to, there's a reason I'm not an architect, but I understand Ralph's point from a design standpoint and certain words that designers typically would pick up. I understand that. I prefer that if it's to be required, that it be crystal clear. It appears to be clear in the residential part of the ordinance, not so much on the commercial side of it. I would rather, I don't want to spend money just on a look that we think is required. What my preference would be, and what I would ask the board to consider, is to detail the brick at the foundation level, just soldier brick, whatever that amounts to, without calling into the ramps into play. Because we didn't show the ramps, or you didn't show the ramps on the first renderings of these, correct?
That's right, because the building was on grade.
But we could still detail the foundation with the building on grade. And what I mean by that is a soldier course.
Yes. We can do some nice things that I think will work for the owner in terms of adding some brick detailing that could work well. So I'm not proposing 2 brick colors by any means, but if you go out to the front of Doco Manor, there's the brick, in essence, the dark red brick wainscot up to about the 3-foot mark, the bottom of the windows, and then there's a different color up top.
Same thing is true at the car wash.
Yeah. We could, at the base of the windows, we could do that soldier course and create that band at that elevation, or like a row, there's a row lock at the bottom of all the windows. We can carry that row lock around to, in essence, create the wainscot look, in lieu of raising the building up 16 inches.
What's everyone's thought on that? I think it's just to create a look.
Well,
more than anything.
right. I think what happened at the last board meeting, at the very end of the meeting, we were talking about it, and then someone from the board said, well, we should raise it 3 feet. And somebody said, raise this thing up 3 feet initially. Well, maybe the specific height wasn't specified, but I didn't like debate that at that point, because I wasn't sure in the ordinance if there was some sort of requirement for commercial, and I needed to go back and look at it. But I think that the idea was just, it sounded like a good idea, I think. So.
For the record, I think we need to also say that the apartment complex on North Main Street, we required that front building, one that's up front, 21, to be raised, and I don't know whether 16, 18 inches, but we did not require it for the buildings behind it. So we have, I guess, done it both ways.
That's what I think. Right. Jim, would you like to make a motion? Would you prefer I do it, or what you want to do?
I'll do it, Jim. I move that we allow the building to be built at grade with some additional brick features that will help elevate the appearance of the look of the foundation itself, that appearance. And it will require both the north side and the east side of the building be made brick to match the rest of the building.
Is there a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, you want to see that at another meeting?
To see it? I'd like to see the detailing at some point. I don't want to hold up the process, but I would like to see the detailing.
I think they were going to have some. Again, what we're saying is that the north side and the east side of the building is brick. The building is at foundation grade with brick, you know, details that would give the appearance of an elevation. The north side and the east side of the building be brick. That the building would be built at grade, but at the foundation side there will be brick features that will give the appearance of some type of elevation there at the grade level to prevent the slab look. Basically, that's what we tried to do. I mean that's the crux of it all.
Can you review the colors with us, what you have in mind?
Doors in the dumpster area. What kind of wood is that? Dumpster? Doors?
Oh, yeah, this. Be the same color. Shingles.
I was
Good
going
looking
to
building.
ask you about that. Yeah. Can I see the border color? I'll be honest with you, I had the opinion it was almost too.
This is part of the, I guess, as far as recording.
It's pretty colors.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks, man. Thank you. That was it. That was a certificate of appropriateness vote.
The board had already approved the certificate of appropriateness, and these are
Okay, these are.
additional conditions, so that, I mean,
Open citizens comment. Has anybody signed up tonight?
No one signed up.
Any other comments from the board?
I think it's an attractive building. Very much. I think it is a very attractive building. Yeah, so.
Appreciate your flexibility. Anything else? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Probably second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
We ought to go back in and listen to the conversation we had with Taco Bell. That was part of that discussion.